going to see if I can replace him after I introduce our speaker. Just picked him up from the airport a few hours ago. This is Rit Forcier. And he blew his knee out because he is an umpire. That was an interesting thing I learned about him. He has been in the ALA, did we decide 35 years?
Something like that.
Which he is one of just 10 fellows. It's the American Livebearers Association. He currently spends half his life, I can't multitask, I can't hold a thing 4 batters and introduce at the same time. That seems too hard. It still says the batteries are dead. Let's jump right into it. Please give a warm welcome to Rit Forcier.
It's great to be back in St. Louis. A couple of you may remember that I have spoken here before. Maybe
15 years ago, we're not sure. But it was certainly pre-pandemic. And yeah, I do spend half of my life in Florida now. There's no state income tax there, which is kind of handy for a retiree. But the first time I went there, I was invited to speak at the local club in Fort Lauderdale, and they took me collecting. And I wrote a program about it, and I keep upgrading it all the way along. I tweaked it a little bit in the last week for you folks. And if you can't hear me in the back, let me know. Yeah, I know, Mike's over there. Yeah, well, you're deaf anyway, Mike.
What's that?
A story before I get into it.
Put that on?
Let's see if it works.
Oh, that works. I'll let you put that in your own pocket.
Well, before I went to Florida, I was invited on a very special kind of trip. I went to Mexico for 3 weeks to collect some of the Livebearers down there. As everybody guesses, I'm very big into Livebearers. Mike has helped me on a number of occasions to get some of the rarer ones. But in this particular case, I had a chance to go with Ivan Dibble, who was the founder of Fish Ark Mexico, which is now the program at the University in Morelia. So I said, what the heck, why not? So I went down there, couldn't find a laundromat to do my laundry. I was there for 3 weeks. Cost me like $6,000 to go by the time I paid all of the bills. We almost got arrested for collecting fish where we shouldn't. And of course, I was lucky at the time. I had academic permits to bring them back. But somebody who didn't have them and didn't have the right paperwork just got arrested, and he's looking at $1,000 worth of fines for having done that. So maybe a better idea is let's go to Florida. All right, a little bit of stuff over here. It's got all kinds of things in here and probably some pictures that you'll recognize. That's Ivan Dibble. He passed away on Christmas Day of 2009. But collecting in Florida is really a nice idea for the whole family. Number one, it's affordable. I mean, you can catch Southwest over here. They'll drop you off in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Tampa, wherever you want to go. And there are different locales down there. So if you don't like what you see over here, you could try over there. It's not going to be tremendously expensive, either for the airfare or for the hotels. And it's something that your family is certainly going to enjoy. So Nate, heads up, you may be able to talk Dad into one of these. Saw Nate, he got an award today. My first trip there was in February of 2010 when I was invited down. I went back in 2011. By 2012, I had my own condo down there. Got lucky. Good realtor, kind of like this guy. Right after a huge cold snap, but the second one, it was 90 degrees. Third one's for the ALA convention. Yeah, you could read the rest. And the only thing that you want to pay attention to if you go down there is make sure you bring your insect repellent. Because if you're out collecting, you're going to find swampy water. This is really not a good picture, but Mark Weiss used to produce some chemicals and stuff for the hobby. You might remember Weiss chemicals. Weiss. He actually had a place down there, but he got sick and had to close it. The next gentleman over with the makeshift plastic pole is Ron Davis, and he just got Showman of the Year at the ALA convention, which was held in Tampa about 6 weeks ago. His girlfriend, Sue Kishi, she's a saltwater collector, and I will talk about salt a little bit. And the infamous Chuck Davis. If you've never had a chance to have Chuck Davis come out here and speak, then he would be another candidate.
He spoke here before.
He's been here before? I'm not surprised. But that's us by a pond, which is right off a main drag, and very nice. Now, here's the interesting thing. If you draw a line from Tampa through Orlando and then down over here to Miami, that's the tropics. It really doesn't freeze down there. So you get tropical fish. How about that? And tropical plants, by the way, too. Some of the largest producers of the commercially available tropical plants are in that area. And by the way, my place is right there, just below Fort Lauderdale. But that's Chuck Davis with some of the collecting gear. He actually took me out the first time that I went. And collecting in Florida is not a big deal. I mean, it's like maybe another half a suitcase worth of stuff. So something good that you can wear on your feet. Old sneakers work fine. Scuba booties are probably even better. Waders are not really necessary. And a non-resident Florida fishing license is a whole $15 or so. I haven't updated that part. For 3 days. And you can even go fishing for things like largemouth bass or peacock bass. I always recommend the nets from Jonah's Aquarium because they're really efficient, but you can get one at Bass Pro Shop or whatever you have around here. Cabela's. There's a big Cabela's near here, isn't there? Yeah, same company now. Sorry?
Bass Pro owns Cabela's now.
Yeah, one of them owns the other now.
Bass Pro.
That's another talk I have. And if you come down to speak, we take you out and do all of this stuff for anything. One of the most famous fish that you can find down there is the least killifish or least livebearer, Heterandria formosa. I had to blow that up so you get a good look at it. Because the male is maybe 3/4 of an inch at full size, and the female is maybe an inch. She's quite gravid right there anyway. Wild mollies are almost everywhere, and the best place to catch them is in a place where the water comes in at high tide into one of the canals, because they kind of like a little salt in the water. And it's interesting too, because if you get one of those spots where it's salt at high tide and fresh water at low tide, you'll catch different fish. Isn't that interesting? But this is off of something that I found on the internet, naturalist.org, or inaturalist.org. And sorry, I forgot your name already. Melanie. Yeah. That will tell you where fish are, no matter what, inaturalist.org. And it's a pretty good thing for finding different species. I joined the club tonight, so if you want to get a hold of me, they have my email address up here. It's alachair@aol.com. I've used AOL forever. Why change? It works. But this is a map of where you can find a certain species, and you can see how prolific it is. That's Pasilia latipina, the sailfin molly. But if you're not into livebearers, you can still find just about any kind of cichlid you want. Because they're everywhere, and some people even catch them on hook and line. For example, the Oscar, which is now an established game fish in the Everglades. Wow. I'm not finished yet. But you can catch Gambusia affinis, and was Mike down there? I think you got some speckled ones, didn't you, Mike? Yes, I did. So there's all kinds of different things. And you're 25 minutes from your hotel. See, that's the best part. Florida flagfish, of course. Now, that's a Tony Terciera picture. You know Tony? He lives up in the Rhode Island area. The guy is phenomenal when it comes to taking pictures. But yeah, they do get that colorful if you got them in the right situation. Jordanella floridi. See, I even put the copyright up there on that one, which I probably should have had on the other one. And the canals, they look like this because they help Florida to drain, and they run out to the ocean. And there are places over there where you can stop. There are picnic tables. There are boat launching ramps. Yeah, you can bring your boat down, I guess. And this is Chuck demonstrating the cast net, which you can use or maybe just, don't bother. Away we go. Who used to say that? And away we go. Somebody over 55. No. Jackie Gleason. In 2010, they had a cold snap. Now, a cold snap in Florida is different from a cold snap in St. Louis. All right? I mean, let's be fair. Down there, if it gets below 55 degrees, the locals are wearing ski jackets, mittens, and ski hats because they just don't get it. Well, in 2010, it got down to like 45, and it was there for a week. And it killed off about 50% of the invasive species. And that's supposed to be a plico. And literally, the shore was lined with picked over skeletons because the local birds had a feast on everything that didn't make it. The collecting sites down there have parking lots. You don't have to drive into some place, and rent an all-terrain vehicle. This is Flamingo Gardens. It's about 10 miles from downtown Fort Lauderdale, and they have a nice botanical gardens there for you could send the family while you're over in the stream next to it catching fish. 3 species of easily here. I caught these mollies there. Yeah, they're small, but they're kind of colorful. Not too bad. When I went down there for the very first time, I had a problem because they didn't know where they wanted, one would say, hey, let's go over here, let's go over there. So they were a problem on what site to choose. We never saw a fish and wildlife person. There was 2 fishing licenses for 4 people, and so what? Cichlids, killifish, livebearers, and once again, don't forget the bug spray. See, I'm a mosquito magnet. If I'm around, they come and find me. So I always have to carry that stuff. 2011, 5 other sites. I was a little bit better at planning collecting gear. I had gotten a good net from Jonah's Aquarium. I've already mentioned them. They're on the internet, and they've got good stuff. Watch for high season. If it's a kid's vacation in April, the price of a room might be 25% higher. But you knew that anyway. If you don't have a fishing license, give me a call. We'll go together. I'm over 65, so I don't even need one. But that's us. And now we're right off of a major drag. This is Route 47, which is called the Tamiami Trail. The original name of the city of Miami was Tamiami. It was the Native American way of pronouncing it. And basically, you go down a hill and right off the road, you park on the side of the road, and you're catching fish. That's the old ALA hat I'm wearing. And in this particular case, you're also right next to a casino. Because you're on the Seminole lands over there. So I didn't get it in the background picture. Of course, I didn't take the picture. I'm in it. And you can get some very interesting fish in one of these places. So you basically walk off the side of the road, get your net out, and here you go. And you're going to catch stuff. The biggest problem with people have when they come down and they want to go collecting is there's too many fish to bring home. We'll talk more about that in a little while. Overbagging is okay for a couple of hours, but one of the guys did this. There's not enough air in that bag. There's not enough water in that bag to support everything that's in there. And he's got killifish and livebearers and a cichlid and I don't know what else. I can't tell from here. If you want salt water, we're going to talk about that a little bit more too. Back when I bought my place, you could actually afford stuff. I mean, the price of real estate down here is going through the roof, as you probably knew. But this is a picture of the canal right off of the Intercoastal Waterway, where I catch stone crabs, which are a delicacy in Florida, and plenty of other stuff right there in that canal. This is my balcony, which is also my fish room in Florida. Show you that later. Collecting tips. Heterandra formosa males are so small, sometimes a window screen is the only thing you can use to actually catch them. The seine is handy if you're down there with some people, but be careful because most of the time the canals have very steep edges, and you could be on the shore and, you know, the other side of the seine could be in 6 feet of water. Sunscreen. Pollution in Florida is really minimal. There's a lot of turnover because these canals are really draining Lake Okeechobee and the Everglades, and because the highest spot in Florida is like only about 30 feet above sea level, you know, they got to get that water out of there quicker. The next thing you know, they've got roads flooding like they did about 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you saw the pictures on the news. Saw that. Did you? Yeah, the park that's about 150 yards from where I live down there had 3 inches of water in there for a week. And Florida people do not know how to drive. I mean, they just don't know how to drive. You think New York people were bad? Florida people are worse. Hey, listen, you know, you could go to a spot and hit it big, or you could go to a spot and get skunked, but it's like fishing. It's not easy. I mean, you got to try. You got to know what you're looking for. You got to have somebody to kind of direct you. That's why usually when we bring a speaker down, like Mike did, I think his picture is in here. You know, you get some help on picking out a couple of spots. Well, here's some that you can remember, and he's recording this for your club, so you don't have to write this down. Griffin Road runs from the Fort Lauderdale Airport to the west. It's just south of the airport. A couple of good restaurants on it, by the way. And it runs right to the Everglades. There's got to be at least 4 good spots on Griffin Road. And the end of it is a park where you could take an airboat ride through the Everglades. Fun thing to do with the family. Not tremendously expensive. And they have a gator farm there too, where they'll give you a little tour of the gators. And you can even hold one. He's got his mouth typed shut. Loop Road is a little bit more, how can I say, a little bit tougher. I've got a picture of that coming up. It's a gravel road. I-75 is the major road that runs from the Fort Lauderdale area over to the west coast of Florida. And the west coast is where you got places like Naples and all of that, and a lot of fish farms. The mile markers are very clear. There's picnic areas, there's restrooms, there's places where you can have a cookout. We sometimes will have a rodeo down there as part of the Gold Coast Aquarium Society's Saturday event. Or pick any canal you run across. But mile marker 35 is one of the better ones. Oh yes, or you can visit one of the local outdoor fish stores. This is actually a retail outlet. It's called Neighborhood Fish Farms. It's closer to Miami. And you'll notice they don't have aquariums there, they have burial vaults. And you can go in there with a net and, you know, pick out the fish you want. You recognize that guy? That's him without the beard.
Nope, stranger danger.
Bass fishing is very good too. Kind of a blacked up Oscar, but Europhthalmus. Holiday Park is the place you want to try for the airboat rides through the swamp, through the Everglades at the end of, and this was one that somebody actually caught on a lure. But you can get these guys, you know, smaller ones with a regular old dip net or a seine. And for those of you who are not so much into the fish, but maybe ornithology, can you see the bird in that photo? There's his head, there's his neck, there's his body. I think it's kind of a stork, I'm not sure. I'm not into it. It's a heron. It is a heron? What's that?
That's a
That's historic? Yeah, all kinds of water birds out there, and unusual plants. And you can find them all over the place. Air breather. Cichlids, there's probably more different kinds than you can count, because they too tend to intermix, but Bimaculata, the black acara is there. Maniguents, we found those, smaller ones. But that one was one we actually caught right at an airboat launching site with a seine. And some nice colors in them, because the water's pretty good. Salvini on Griffin Road, they're coming up. Here's the story. My family comes down, right? So my daughter comes down, her husband, 2 kids. My grandson is 10 years old. He tries this cast net, he throws it out, he catches a 10-inch tilapia on the first try.
That's a little one.
Yeah, well, I mean, how big you want, put in your tank, you know? I didn't take him home. We put him back in. All right, so now, here is the definitive thing for Dad, who's probably going to drive the car anyway. That's the Fort Lauderdale Airport, okay? And right up here is the city of Fort Lauderdale, and the beach runs from, my gosh, everywhere on the eastern edge. This 595 turns into what is called the Alligator Alley, which runs over to Naples. And Griffin Road is either one exit south of this, or you can just come down 595 or get it, or you can even leave the airport, go out to US 1, the federal highway. It's the federal highway. And then pick up Griffin Road and go right out here. And, you know, like I said, there's like 4 or 5 places before you hit Holiday Park where you could just pull off the side of the road. You know, there's no signs that say no trespassing. You know, they don't do that in Florida. It's like, yeah, it's okay. You know, go ahead over. Well, yeah, fishing? Sure. Where's your pole? Oh, no, I use a net. Go ahead. No problem. So you can get yourself a nice hotel along the beach over here, send the family out to the pool, get in the car, go out collecting, come back in 2 hours, you got more fish than you know what to do with. What a deal. And you can catch killies, Fungulus chrysotis, one of many that's down there. This one, the bluefin killie, is quite colorful but very difficult to get home because, I don't know, it's very fragile. So I'm not a real big killifish guy. I've gotten them from, you know, the estuary to my house and into the tank, and I just give them to people because they're tough to get. 89th Street Park is right off of Griffin Road, and you can get jewel cichlids in there. Gambusia, well, how many do you want? Matter of fact, Chuck Davis collects them, and he uses them as live food for his big cichlids. He's still a big cichlid guy, 125-gallon tank. The thing is almost a foot long. Gambusia rhizophore is an interesting one. I've actually collected this at a state park in North Miami, brought it home, got it to spawn. I got points in the BAP program for the ALA. But you're going to see lots of them. Now this guy right here is an interesting story by itself. Balanosox balzani. It comes from Belize. What's it doing in South Florida? And the answer was, some people were doing an experiment at the University of Miami, and it got dumped.
Back down the toilet.
Not down the toilet, into a canal. So you can catch Florida Balanosox down there. And this is us out collecting. So you got a net. Those little plastic containers come in real handy because you can get some of the local water and then test it out before you, like I said, common for Gambusia for feeders. This is 2011. Chuck got a ton of them. The thing is, if you get them out of the water and they stay out of the water for more than like a minute, they're dead. You know, keep them in water, you're fine. That guy likes those little gambusia too. So I put this in there for the turtle lovers in the audience. This guy likes bigger meat. Yes, the gator is an endangered species in South Florida. I've actually driven by an area on Loop Road where the people stop and they throw chicken legs to them. But you kind of don't want to do that because Chuck spotted one, and I'll tell you something, I've never seen a 70-year-old guy who weighs almost 250 pounds jump on top of a 3-foot rock in 0.4 of a second. It was amazing. So he's not going anywhere near any gator that you ever wanted to see. But he got up there, I don't know how. That area right there, which was off of the Tamiami Trail, we actually caught 3 different species in one swoop of the net. And look how many we got. So it's the collecting there can be pretty significant. So I got some mollies, I got some gambusia, and I forget what the third one was. Well, when you get to my age, why not? So I usually set up a big tank, like, you know, at least a 30 or something like that. And I just bring them all home and give them to people when they come down to visit. But it is pretty environmental down there. This is the home of the Florida panther. Baby gators, yeah, you can catch them, but watch out for mom. This is right off of Loop Road, and that's another endangered species that they have down there, is the Florida panther. However, 32 species of exotics in Florida. They hand this one out at some of the places, because we have Bass Pro down there too, of course. And it's right in Fort Lauderdale, right off of I-95. Including the walking catfish and the snakehead. And unfortunately now we also have iguanas all over the place too. So if you want a baby iguana for some reason, let me know, because I catch them trying to eat my wife's plants all the time. My next door neighbor down there is a retired MD. He's from Columbia. So he says, oh yeah, we have them all the time down there. I said, yeah, they don't belong in Florida. He says, oh yeah, $2 a pound, tastes like chicken.
Yes. Yes.
It's like fishing anywhere. Did I miss one in there? All right, I got that. And for some reason, some of the bottoms of the streams that can have some very difficult rocks to work around to catch the fish. So when we caught this guy called a warmouth, I wanted to show you the edge of the net, because what we do to protect the net from these rough rocks is to take some pipe insulation and then use a zip tie and tie it around the outer edge of the net. And it does a good job of keeping your net from getting ripped up. So the pipe insulation is not a bad idea. Dwarf sunfish. If you go up more into the Everglades or on the north side of Okeechobee, you can get a lot more of these Anacanthus species, including Everglade. So, and that's kind of like, I guess, the crowning one for people who are in the NANFA, you know, the native fish group. But quite an interesting fish, and they don't get very big. That's a dwarf sunfish. But plenty of others, because they tend to interbreed. So you can see like one swoop of the net, and we probably got at least 2 different species there, if not 3. And you're out for the afternoon. You're back to the hotel to pick up the family to go to dinner, you know? And if you do, you know, you got to try the mahi at the local restaurants, because, you know, a lot of people enjoy a good fish meal. Grouper, mahi, very nice. If you want to try the stone crab claws down there, it's like if the fishermen are really having a problem with it now. So a good dinner of those is like $80, $90 now. But the most important stuff is you don't have to be an expert to get down here. Well, you're on vacation anyway, right? So just go for it. Have some fun. And we meet on Saturday mornings down there once a month at the Gold Coast Aquarium Society. And like you folks, you know, we're all invited. And let the family enjoy the beach, the pool, whatever, spending your money, whatever it might be at the same time. Do you need a fishing license? Yes. Not all the fish are easy to find. Have you ever lost a fish bringing him home in a bag from a meeting? Well, you can lose fish bringing them home too, but all plastic bags are not really the same. So I have some pretty good ideas on sites. And if you want to go to Fort Lauderdale, that's great. I'll help you out. If you want to go to Orlando, I'll give you the name of a guy up there who's got 4 or 5 sites. If you want to go to Tampa, there's another guy up that way who's in the club. The Tampa Club is very big. They meet at the Tampa Aquarium. What a nice place. That's also pretty good at it. And then I got a friend who runs a shop over in the Fort Myers area, a regular fish store, who'll put you on to 4 or 5 places over there. So anywhere in that South Florida area is a good place to collect. I don't consider myself an expert on any of them, but I know the guys that are. And you can walk off the beach with a net. Now she's wearing a diver's suit. It's just a piece of nylon material, but you could go in with just anything on. Hopefully a bathing suit. And collect right there and catch, you know, like puffers and stuff like that because they're all over the place. I catch them right off my dock. You go out in a boat and do it. This is Kyle, who was, I think, about 11, and he caught this very interesting thing. Especially if you take a look at the dorsal on this, it's just a spike. So it's a type of triggerfish, but we haven't figured out exactly which one it is yet. Right off the boat. We do have another saltwater invasive species. The lionfish has taken over, and they, you said you were a diver, right? Yeah, they have rodeos for these guys down there. It's really neat.
They're yummy.
And they're very tasty if you know how to.
Oh yeah, they're delicious.
But you got to get somebody to clean them the right way because they do have some spines that are poisonous. And bringing them home, well, you don't need papers. Chemicals like Emoloc, some of the other ones are just good. Water bottles are less apt to rupture. Check with TSA, but I always put them in a checked bag. As a matter of fact, I have a styro in the bag that I brought down here in the hopes of bringing home more than 1 bag of fish. Because I know you guys are really good. And you don't have to worry about parasites. Because I checked on that for a couple of people, including University of South Florida, and they say, you don't have to worry about it. But what I do is I've got a hard-sided plastic suitcase, and let me see, you have a grocery store chain around here called Schnucks?
Yep.
Yeah. So the next time you're there, stop at the frozen food counter, the frozen fish counter, and ask them for a couple of these odd-sized styros, because 2 of them fit really nicely in a big suitcase. Or you can do like I do it. I got a small suitcase with 1 in it. And just, you know, I use Clorox cleanup, clean it out good. And how many fish can you bring home in something like that? And if you fly Southwest, you get 2 bags for free anyway. That's not an advertisement for them. Learn more, help about endangered species. The ACA has a conservation fund, the Cichlid Association. The Livebearers Association has the Langhammer Fund for conservation. The killifish folks have a conservation fund. Talk to Mike about joining the CARES program. It's pretty good, you know, especially if you live in one spot all the time, not like me. Join another regional club. There's some pretty good books out there. Mike Shadle, remember that name. We'd like you to join the ALA. We do have 4 times a year we put out a bulletin via the web. The Northeast Livebearer Association has just folded. Chicago Livebearer Society has a new member, and I guess a few of you are drive up there on a Sunday afternoon for that. Or the next time I take a trip, you can join me. That's in Mexico, by the way. Gracias, amigos. Thank you, my friends. Hope you enjoyed that. Questions?
Yeah, I got one.
Sure.
What do you collect in Connecticut?
We do have some cold water killies,
Uh-huh.
and the lake that I live on in Connecticut has 13 different species of water plants
Okay,
and some very nice largemouth bass,
okay,
which I like to catch, but I always just throw back in.
sure.
So, yeah, besides that, the nearest club is like an hour and a quarter away. Wow. I might as well take a plane and come here. Anything, anybody. So, see that, Nate? I got your name in. Where are you? Go ahead.
You said parasites are not a problem.
I have not had an issue with a parasite, nor have I heard anybody who said, I got them home and they had parasites. So, and that's over, 14 years of experience with this stuff. You know, and I mean, obviously you could treat with chemicals on the way home, or, you know, you do what you would normally do. You probably get some fish from here, bring them home, and, you know, put them in a special tank to incubate them for a few days anyway. So, yeah, somebody asked me that in a program, and I did about a year's worth of research before I said, not a problem. Anybody else? I want to thank you very much. This is quite enjoyable to be invited all the way out here to St. Louis. I'm sorry I can't stay for a Cardinals game because my wife put the kibosh on that. I have to stay till Sunday.
You aren't missing much.
It's a chance to visit another park.
The Cardinals are down in Florida right now, I think.
I know, they're not home till Saturday afternoon.
Down in Alabama.
Anyway, have a good evening and enjoy the rest of the meeting. I know there's a door in there, I just don't know where it is.
Go down to the Godin.